guys, happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I guess it's still morning there. So, good morning. Hope you're having a good day so far. Um, anyways, just wanted to connect with you today, like I always do. And today I wanted to talk to you about sales calls. So this is something that I realized is a definitely a part of your content strategy. It's definitely something that you can write out ahead of line and brainstorm in a way that makes it easier, makes you more successful at communicating yourself. And also, there are strategies that you can employ. Hi, Dee, it's good to see you. Happy Tuesday. There's also strategies that you can employ before getting on a sales call to make the sales call easier. Something I've learned from a lot of other people who do well, something that's worked well for me for the past 18 months in my business. And I want to go through it with you. Where I started, I had zero background in sales, zippo. None of my jobs had sales experience. You know, I did restaurants, grocery stores, law office, receptionist, bookkeeper, all of these things. No sales. And then I come to start this business and I realized that I need to learn how to do sales from scratch. And this terrified me. So I hired people to teach me how to do it. And when I got started with these sales calls, um, I downloaded, purchased, learned these sales scripts from other people. It was a good starting point, kind of a safety blanket. And in those first few months, when I was getting more comfortable with those sales calls and how to ask for things and stuff like that, and before I got into my rhythm with a lot of practice, I always had a sales script open on my monitor. And what that is it's part of your content strategy. It's content that helps you strategically connect with and communicate with your clients, right? Um, so this is something I want to walk through with you. What's worked for me, especially how I've adapted it for how it works for my business, why I made those adaptations, and how I made it feel good for me. Because I know sales is something that doesn't always feel good for everyone. It's something that feels icky, like you shouldn't have to do it. But once again, it just comes down to if you aren't selling yourself, if you aren't selling your business, no one is. So if you want to just learn how to do it, great, come aboard. Again, this is the process I go through to make it natural, relational, not pushy, not gross. So this is where I am today. I started out from nothing, super uncomfortable, to a place where I was a lot more comfortable with it. Never like, like just chilling in a hammock comfortable, but like very comfortable. I had a high close rate on my calls. They were very warm. I got very little pushback on prices. And I'm now actually at the point where I'm messaging as a place where I can actually outsource some of my discovery calls to my amazing VA, Audra. That's wonderful. Not everyone is like that. You may not get to that place, and that's fine. You kind of have to figure it out from your business. There's no one size fits all. For example, I think Alyssa Dillon, she still handles her sales calls, but she also has a very careful vetting process, both through her messaging and things of that nature, before she gets on the phone with them. So the biggest mindset that helps me when it comes to these sales calls is trying to match a need to what I can do. So, for example, I can through my services I help people in a very specific way, and so what we're trying to figure out when we're on the sales call is, do you need the specific help that I can give, right? Um, so you're not trying to convince them, you're not trying to trick them or manipulate them. And honestly, even if you do kind of like strong arm them into something, they're not good clients to work with. They may be resentful, slow to respond. Speaking from experience, it's okay to not feel like you have to strong arm your client. It's just a matter of getting used to the content strategy in the call. Um, if you can help them, it's about communicating that you can help them in a way that they really want to be helped. So I'm going to gloss over the finer details of how to get them onto the call. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting them warmed up, but this is more about the call itself. But in general, the principles that I realized kept surfacing as I put this together for you guys: be empathetic, be personal, and be curious. You see, it's not slimy. It's again trying to match service to need. It's just like, is this someone who actually needs and wants the help that I can give? If the answer is no, that's okay. I promise you, there are so many people out there who could use what you do. So, anyways, I'm going to go through 4 pieces. One, knowing my services and how it benefits my clients. 2, warming up and qualifying leads. 3, on the call. And 4, after the call. So let's go ahead and jump right on in here. All right, so before you even schedule a call, try and get someone on your call calendar, stuff like this, it is so important to know exactly what you do, and not just what you do, but how it helps your clients. This is a very common content marketing thing. You're not just listing features, you are explaining benefits. People don't want to have a bullet point list of what you do. They want to know how you make their lives better. So a good way that I did this early on is I wrote out my services. So you can do this too. So for example, I have the social media membership, the website content, and the lead magnets. But what I need to do is make sure that I can explain the benefits to someone who may be thinking of buying them. For the memberships, okay, save time trying to write social media posts yourself, post content that's proven to work to get more clients for you. Okay, that is what makes their life better. They don't care that they have a membership. They care that I can help them get more clients and save them time. Great. That's how I'm talking about it on the phone. That's what I'm listening to as I get to know these clients. So I also, so that's an example. Another thing that really helped me, because the idea of trying to deal with objections on the phone, and I'll get into this more, super scary. What you can do, kind of deal with the worst case scenario phone call. So when you're thinking about like your services, how it benefits your clients, also think about the flip, like how would they fight back on this? If you have to write out the objections and the answers before you deal with a live person, this is again part of the content strategy. You're writing out the content beforehand. That way you can reference it. You can have this safety blanket. This other, like I said in my earlier calls, I had 2 screens going on, and on one of them was my sales script that I had gotten from other people, that I refined to fit myself. I needed that to like word search and to reference when I was still building confidence. That's okay. It was a part of the content strategy. So before you have to deal with live people who are going to be asking those questions that are really intimidating in a live setting, write it out, deal with it, put it in a document. Have you helped other people do this too? What results have you helped others get? I need to talk to my spouse first. It's too expensive, and I'll deal with objections here in a minute, but I just want to let you know, like, write out how to talk to them, how to deal with those questions. So for example, like when NASA's training their astronauts, they're putting them in like crazy worst case scenarios because they want to put them, I'm sorry, I lost my place on here. They're putting them in these worst case scenarios where they have to find those answers. They want them to have these like serious problems here on the ground, here in the safety of Earth before they go up into space, right? So it's kind of like that. Your little Earth is here before you get on the call with these clients. You can kind of iron this out beforehand. And honestly, here's the good news. When it comes to like dealing with those fears of what people will say, how they'll push back, the questions they'll ask, something I learned after many, many calls is that people are a lot nicer to me than I am to myself in my head. So if you're afraid they're going to push back on a ton of questions and be super belligerent, they probably won't be. You're probably rougher on yourself than they're going to be. So keep that in mind. You'll see that come true as you work forward. So, and then once you write out your services, once you write out your benefits, once you write out, their potential objections, practice just saying them out loud, right? You can keep post-its at strategic places, where you kind of have like some in-between time. So like something, little prompts in the bathroom mirror. I would sometimes practice like in the car on my commute. Not doing anything else, I can practice saying these things out loud. I literally have done that. I'm talking to my windshield, practicing my sales pitches just to get more comfortable with the words coming out of my mouth. Find other entrepreneur friends who are at the same stage as you. I did this with some of my friends. We would schedule times to kind of like practice talking about stuff, finding ways to strengthen our strategies. And also record yourself, do an audio clip, do video. I've done that too. Sometimes it just helps with the processing. So know your services, know how it benefits their clients, and be able to like get more natural, conversational at it. Again, you're trying to communicate to them, this is how this service can help solve your problem, right? Okay, so again, we're still not in the sales call yet. We're just trying to make sure we have a clear understanding of how what we do makes their lives better, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna get to step two. So that was know your services and benefits. Number two, warm up and qualify your leads. Okay. Um, so there's a difference, of course, between like cold calls and warm calls. You guys know that cold selling and warm selling. So, for example, a cold call is someone who's never heard of you before. They have no context for you. So, for example, this LinkedIn article said that the success rate of a cold call for someone who has no idea who you are is 2%. 2 out of 100 calls will work. However, if you take the time to warm up a content through marketing, lead generation, all these things, your success rate jumps to 30%. That's a lot bigger. So this is why I take the time to warm up my audience the way I do. And also, I just prefer warm calls. I hate cold calls. I hate them. I hate them. So I put in the extra time to warm them up through my social media marketing. So the way I warm them up is through these posts, through these videos, through starting my group, all of these things, all of these value giving, authority establishing content to let you know who I am, what I do, how I can help you, strategies that you can employ on your own. This is how I warm up people to get to know me so that when they finally do get to a point where we get on the call, it's a lot easier to yes, I don't have to fight on prices, and I prefer that situation. And that's why I invest in social media marketing, because it makes the sales call, which it always gets to, it makes that point so much easier. They already trust me, they already know me, and I noticed this big difference. Once my social media marketing got really established, I heard a lot more yeses, a lot less pushback, and and then it got to a point where it tipped over and there was more initiation of calls with me. That's a beautiful place to be. And that's what I mean by warming things up. Warmed up leads are fantastic. Now, qualifying leads is also an important thing. I learned a lot about this from Alyssa. Qualifying leads is basically making sure that the people who reach out to you are the people who you actually want to work with and who fit your service. Someone who can afford to hire you, who sees the value of what you do, that's in your niche, that sees the value of the problem that you solve in their business. So you qualify these people in different ways, and sometimes it's more direct, sometimes it's more abstract. One of the direct ways that helped me do it is I use Calendly. It's a lifesaver for me with my time zone thing. So I learned from Alyssa the way she models the questions in her Calendly. You ask certain questions to make sure you get enough information and clarification on where they're at. So, for example, one question she encouraged me to add, and which I'm glad I did, was are you in charge of financial decisions for your business? That's an important one to know because you don't want to have to go through a lot of negotiating with someone else, and it's a lot of hassle. You want someone who can say, I want to do this. Here's my credit card. I'm ready to go. So much easier. And also someone who's like not broke. You want some, again, part of being an ideal client is that they can afford your services. It's okay if they can't right now or they want to later, but if they're going to hire you, they have to afford you. It's just that basic. Another thing that I add in mine specifically is because the content I do is so personalized and the done for you work, I put in a question. Do you understand that I'll ask you to do some homework, that you'll need to invest some time in this? I want to set that expectation ahead of time. And if they kind of hem and haw on that answer, it's not a good fit. I'm not just here to wave a wand and give them perfect content. It's not how it works. So this is how I qualify these people. This is how I know, like, is this the right person for, am I giving them what they're looking for? If they're looking for magic wand, I'm not the magic wand lady. It's just not what it is. But another way that you can do this is through through your content. So the things that I post, I am aiming towards people who, again, see the value of what I do, already have a basic understanding of social media management and marketing and things of that nature. I can tailor my message to a certain kind of person so that people who don't have a budget may not be as attracted to me, but that's okay, that's intentional. I want to attract people who can work with me, who are interested in what I do. Maybe someone's skeptical and doesn't like being on social media. Okay, they're not my person. That's okay. I'm not looking to talk to them. I'm looking to talk to the person who wants to market on social media, sees the value of it, and has the budget for it. That's who I'm trying to talk to. And it's okay to be that exclusive. So this is what I mean when it comes to qualifying leads. You're talking specifically to a certain person. And not only that, but with the Calendly leads, something else that I learned from it, I asked these questions. What's your social media link? What's your website? I don't want to dig that up. I don't want to dig that up. So I make it a mandatory question in the calendar they sign up because I want that information. I want that already made so that I can just spend 15 minutes before the call running through, okay, where are you? What's your presence? What are you writing? What's going out there? I want to know how they came across me and found me, what services they're interested in. It's so helpful. It's all this information because the more I know about them, the better I can tailor the conversation. And I'll go into that more here in the next bit. And here's a little side. Some people, and this is something I dealt with early on, I was totally afraid that because I'm in a different time zone, no one's going to want to talk to me. My calendar is going to be so limited, it's not going to work. It works fine. It works fine. I have consistent call times. I've actually limited it as I've gotten more busy. It's not been a problem. You don't need to be available 24/7 for these calls. Have a call calendar, have set days for calls. If I can make it work in Israel and I'm 7 hours ahead of Eastern Standard Time, you can make it work with just a couple days a week in the US. It's plenty of time, so don't stress out about not being available enough. It's okay. So that's warming up and qualifying leads. That's number 2. Number 3, now let's talk about the call. All right, I have 7 bits here. So let's go to number 1. Okay, on the call. Like I said, my prep before the call is number 1. I take 15 minutes to review the Calendly questionnaire, to maybe handwrite a couple of notes, like what I want to ask more about, what to point out from the content that I see. Maybe they're strong in this or weak in this. Maybe I think this is a problem or something like that. Just giving myself a little bit of a reference to work from while talking. So I prepare before the call just a little bit. Again, I make them do the work for me. I want them to give me information. I don't want to have to go hunting for it. Number 2, there's an icebreaker phase. You get on the call. Hi, how's it going? How's your week been? How's stuff going with COVID where you're living? A lot of times, since I just, did a quick scan of like their Facebook page or their Instagram, whatever, I'll try to mention something personal I saw while reviewing it. I saw that your kids were having fun in the snow the other day. How's all the snow where you're being? Things of that thing. Also, try and include connection points. People want to work with people that they feel connected with, so throw those in. Maybe, I went to Ohio State. If they did too, I can mention, oh, I saw you went to OSU. That's really cool. Or, oh, I saw that you just traveled, to Miami. I love Miami. I wish I could go back there. Something like that. It's good to find those points of connection and be personal. And some people get right to business. They want to skip past the icebreaker. Not all the time. So prep before the call, icebreaker, and then set the agenda. I know that if this is like early on in your sales process, you're going to feel nervous. You're going to feel like you won't be in charge. I felt like an imposter for like the first, God knows how many calls. It's a really challenging thing, but it's your call, and it's okay to set the agenda. It helps let them know that you're in charge, that you're competent. It's not a bad thing, and you can do it in a loose enough way. So just be like, first, let's talk more about your business. I'd like to hear more about what you're doing, what your goals are. Then we'll see that I have something that would be a good fit for you to help you, and then we'll go from there. Also, bonus tip, if you want to constrain or control the time commitment, you can tell a little white fib. Mention, like, oh, just so you know, I have another call in about 30 minutes, so just so you know, as far as like time frame. Even if you don't have a call or commitment exactly, it really helps to keep things on track so that it doesn't wander off. I've had discovery calls go for an hour and 20 minutes. I didn't go anywhere because I didn't rein it in. I wasn't in control, and it didn't need to be that long. So just a tip on that way. So once you set the agenda, what you're going to do is you're going to ask a lot of questions. And this is a really good thing for introverts, because introverts feel like probably they need to go, hey, ho, like, sales psychology and whiz, bang, dazzle. You don't have to do that. What these people want to know is, how can you help me? And this is what you're learning more about them, so you can answer that question for them. You need to understand them so you can individualize the solution. Okay, if 10 different people ask me about my content membership, which is the exact same product, the best results, the people who are most likely to sign up, are if it applied to their specific needs and concerns. So someone maybe asked me about it and they say, well, I post primarily on LinkedIn, and I can highlight that feature of the membership. Well, the good thing is I recently added a feature where I have LinkedIn linked posts. Great. So it's tailored to what they want. Someone else may talk about struggling to find, I don't know where to find pictures for my content. I know I need pictures. I can highlight that bit of it. That's great. You know what? There's links included on every pre-written post in there. No problem. You're covered. And it makes it much more, it's tailoring it to what they need. But I have to ask them, I have to understand them before I can give it to them. Also, an important part of these questions, I can't tell you how many times someone has come to me saying, well, I want a blog, or I want this, I want an email string. But when they explain what their goals are, what they're struggling with, it's not actually a good fit for what they're trying to do. And I'll be able to, by asking them more questions, I can get a better idea from their goals and their desires, how to match them to a better product or service. Um, so this is why it's important to ask a lot of questions. So some kind of questions to ask. Why did you reach out for help with this kind of content? What are your current business goals? What do you think this will help solve? What problem will it solve? What goal will this help you meet? Have you tried doing this other ways on your own? If so, how? How did it work out? Um, so ask a lot of questions, get to know them. And this is right at home for me with like my journalism background. I ask so many questions, and that's okay. Most of the call, honestly, for me, is asking questions. I want to understand them. I want to know where they're coming from. Again, it's all about personalizing your answer to what they say they need. So once you ask the questions, once you get a better idea of where they're at, it's very easy. Summarize and repeat back what they need and are looking for. So, you're going to meander maybe a little bit and talk, and talk for a while. And while going through everything, you have to kind of synthesize in a couple sentences. It's just like, okay, so you're struggling with posting consistently. You want to be able to post 5 times a week, but you don't have the time to write and you don't like writing. So you're trying to find a solution for that. Is that right? And it's okay, by the way, to ask for clarification. You can say, I think this is what you're asking. Do I have that right? It's okay. You're not expected to be a robot. It's okay to like double check. It's a good relational thing. Do I have that right? Honestly, you're not coming off as a know-it-all or telling them what they should think. It's like, I think this is what you're asking. Is this right? If not, let me know. It's very human. People like humans. Again, I'm all about the human non-gross sales calls. I couldn't do that once. And then once they confirm that you got it right, and if it does match your services, what you can do, your availability, then tell them, well, I think I can definitely help you with this particular problem. Would it be okay into what I think would be the best fit for you from my services? And then when they say yes, boom, you just got permission to pitch. You just got permission to talk about the service, the process, and stuff like that. So after you summarized and repeated their problem, fantastic. Now you're going to pitch. So remember, we asked a bunch of questions to know exactly what they're struggling with. So whatever you're offering to them as a solution, make sure that you are tying it back to a problem that they mentioned before, a goal that they mentioned before. I think that service X will really be able to help you get to goal Y. As you're doing it, try and slip in things just subtly. So slip in your authority, your experience. It's like, okay, so you're trying to deal with this. Well, my client Kim, she had the same issue or goal, and this particular service worked well for her. And explain that, connect it, show that it's been proven to work, show that you know what you're doing. Another important thing to do is when you're pitching something to them, try and give a brief rundown. It's just like, here's kind of the general process. You'll sign up for the membership, and it's got pre-written posts, days, and it's also got tips and all of these things. This is how you're going to post it, and this is what it's going to cost and the investment and stuff like this. It changes, of course, depending on what the product is. My done for you services, I'll tell them something like, when I do an about me page for someone, I'll have them, I'll say, so I think an about me page would be a good fit for where you are. If we went that route, I would send you an invoice once the invoice is paid. I would send you homework to do so that we can really get zeroed in on your voice and your values. After that, we'll schedule an interview call to go over the notes and content together, and then I'll put together a first draft for you. And depending on how we turn that around is when the due date will be. Um, da, da, da. So you're trying to make sure that you have a handle on how it works, help give them expectations. Um, and then you can say something, to kind of transition and be like, does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Does that sound like that fits the problem you're trying to solve? If they confirm it, that's great. We like them confirming it. If they ask for the price, great. If it's a natural transition, go for it. Now, something that was hard for me and that takes practice, and if you're new at this, it's going to be a lot of crappy sales calls until you get it right. It's okay, it's part of the process. Just get the notches on your belt for this. Offer the service and say, that'll be $3.95 to do that page, and just sit with it. Let the number leave your mouth, and just let them sit with it. Even if it means several seconds of silence where you want to die, you don't have to justify it. You don't have to feel guilty about it. If you try and fill the silence with a bunch of reasoning why it's worth that much, it weakens it. So something that helped me keep my mouth shut and stop me from devaluing my price and feeling guilty, I would literally, if I knew what service to to suggest, I would write out like the hours and the effort on like my notepad in front of me, just to remind myself, this is how much I'm doing for them. Is it worth what I'm quoting them? Yep, it sure is. And it helps me stay firm on the fair price, and not feel guilty or over explain. And again, if you're afraid of them balking at your prices, again, take this, kind of like the astronauts, practice it on Earth. Don't wait until you're on the moon with the sales call. Practice it on Earth. Practice people, pushing back on it. This happened to me a couple times early on. I felt guilty and awkward and didn't know how to respond. But you get to a point eventually, again, you get centered on these prices that you understand the value of, and you can hold your ground. I had a woman who came to me, and it was notable because she didn't come through my social media marketing. She was recommended outside of it, so she didn't really have a lot of context for me. She wasn't a warm lead, it turned out. And then when I gave her a quote for writing a blog for her, she literally went, "Wow!" like super loud, and she's like, "I was not expecting that." And all like in the past I would have felt ashamed, but once you practice it, once you get used to it, once you know your value, you can hear that and be like, "Yep, I'm really good at what I do. I do quality work. I take good care of my clients," things of that nature. And then also you can have a dialogue. If they have that reaction, it's just like, well, let me ask you this. Have you hired for this work before? Or how long has it taken you to do it? When you paid less, did you get a good result? Kind of like if you're a bookkeeper, it's just like, okay, you feel like my prices are high. Have you had a bookkeeper before? Did you have a bargain one? How did that turn out? Why are you hiring me now? You can turn it into a dialogue. So, so this is putting it out there as far as giving the quote, giving the price. It's okay. I know it's scary because it was scary for me. You'll get better at it with practice. Practicing it before you get in the call and practicing it on calls that go badly. It's okay. There'll be more calls, I promise. So that's giving the quote. Now 7, handling objections. I have a confession. I don't handle these a whole lot anymore, for 2 reasons. One, the calls I have are very warm and qualified from social media, so they're very ready to buy. And then some people get it so dialed in when it comes to warming their audience up, they can just make closes and sales on direct messages, and that's it, they're done. That's the beauty of social media marketing, and I love it. So I don't handle a whole lot of objections. By the time someone comes to me, they're basically just doing one last tire kick before purchasing the car. But here's another thing. I don't have a lot of objections also because a lot of my prices are, the things that I sell are pretty low ticket. I don't have a lot of expensive things that I offer. So they're not going to fight with me a whole lot on something that costs $97 or $300. If it's a higher ticket, you may have to deal with this more. Because I remember struggling with this when I would hire coaches or things that were more expensive on a recurring basis. So if you have a more expensive product, it may be a different animal. But at the end of the day, no matter what, and I've dealt with this even with lower prices, objections are excuses. And sometimes they're legitimate, And sometimes they're flimsy and just a shield to buy time or avoid the discomfort of saying no. This is a very important thing. You can't get offended. It's not personal, it's never personal. Whatever you answer, be empathetic, be personal, and be curious. That is the best advice I can give you when it comes to dealing with them. Again, we're not manipulating, we're not pressuring, we're trying to communicate and see if there's a match between their need and our service. That's it. And maybe they don't understand the value, maybe they aren't aligned with the need, whatever. So, for example, if someone says, I had to think about it, be empathetic, be personal, be curious. So, I had to think about it. Okay, I totally get it. I know this is a stretch because you mentioned earlier on a tight budget. So, be personal. Last time I hired a service provider, like a marketer or a bookkeeper, I needed some time to think about it too. And then be curious. Do you have any specific questions or hesitations I can help answer? I really like to understand and help as best I can. So you see that kind of approach, it encourages dialogue. You're not bringing down the hammer. You're talking to them about it. You're trying to honestly disarm them by being open and empathetic. um, so another example would be like, well, I have to talk to my husband. I have to talk to X person. Again, be empathetic, be personal, be curious. Try and talk to them about it. It's like, don't worry, I understand. My husband and I are always careful to talk about big purchases together before we make them too. Be personal. And okay, there have been a couple times I've invested in expensive coaches and courses, and I had to crunch the numbers with them first. I couldn't say yes right away, so I get it. And then be curious. Do you want me to give you a call tomorrow after you had a chance to talk to him? Or maybe it would help if we schedule a second call with all three of us so I can answer his questions too. Things of that nature. Be empathetic, be personal, be curious. You're not trying to force, trick, manipulate. That's not what this is. You're trying to match your service to their need if it's a good fit. So that's on the call. That's how you deal with objections. That's how you deal with the prices. Now, they're going to say basically one of three things in variations. Yes, let me think about it, or no. If they say yes, okay, clearly lay out the next steps. So I have template emails for different things that I follow up with afterwards. I go over the call, it's just like, okay, great. I'll send you an invoice later today. After you pay the invoice, then I'll send you an email with your homework. After the homework is completed, I lay things out. It shows like I have the situation in hand, right? And quick side note, I don't start anything until they pay the invoice, the deposit. And I state that in the call and on the email. And for what it's worth, when I do that, I'm at a point now where I've never had any pushback on that. It's so helpful. Anyways, now, they may say, let me think about it. Try and make sure there's a scheduled time for you to follow up with them. Some people suggest being more aggressive. I don't like being super aggressive, but I do think it's a good idea to ask, well, how long do you think you need to think about it? Do you need to talk to X person? Do you need to check this budget? Whatever. And offer to follow up, what can I, how about we set a time to revisit it tomorrow? I want to make sure that I answer all of your questions. And bonus, if you offer a discount in your call, give an incentive. Okay, no problem. I'm able to hold your price or spot for 24 hours. After that, we'll have to reevaluate, but you just let me know. So it gives them an incentive to come back, right? And if they said no or not right now, just respect their wishes. They may be ready at a later date. They were obviously interested enough to schedule a call. Don't alienate them. It's amazing how long certain people it takes to warm up to you. I had a woman who watched my videos for 6 months before she's ready to buy from me. 6 months! 6 months. So keep that in mind. Don't alienate them. One of the coaches that I signed up with, I was pretty sure I was going to have to say no to her budget-wise, but she was so helpful on the call, and she was very generous with her advice and even followed up and sent something after our call. And that made an impact on me. It's just like, oh, okay, no grudges, great. I still want to work with her, even though I'm afraid I can't right now. And then even if they, ask, well, is there a later time when maybe I can help you with this? And this is like, well, after I finish, X budget or this project. 3 months from now, okay, great. Put it on your calendar. 3 months from now, set a reminder. Even if you want to send, schedule an email right after you get the call, just to follow up with them. Again, if you're putting this content out ahead of time, hey, was thinking of you, didn't know if you needed this help. That's all. just keep fertilizing your garden with these leads. And if they're just like a straight up no, that's okay. Politely thank them for their time, ask if they have more questions you can help them with, let them go. You don't have to harass, badger, or brainwash anyone into working with you. And again, even if you did, that client's not going to be super fun to work with. Um, so make sure you follow up. There's a lot of opportunities and money and clients you lose by not following up after a call or after a few months or by alienating someone. Don't alienate them. So yes, let me minimize my bullet points so I can sum up for you guys. Yes, so when it comes to your sales process and your content, know your services and how it benefits your clients. Warm up and qualify your leads. Use content marketing, stuff like that. So much easier. On the call, go through those 7 steps. Prepare before the call. Go through the icebreaker stage. Make sure that you show connection with them. Set out the agenda. Say this is how it's going to go. How much time we have. Ask a lot of questions. Spend a lot of time on questions. It's so helpful. Ask questions. It's super easy. Summarize what they said and what they're looking for. And then from that, ask permission basically to pitch to them. And then after the pitch, handle the objections. And when you're handling the objections, be personal, be empathetic, be curious. Again, we're not trying to trick anyone. We're just trying to communicate effectively, right? And then after that, follow up, and lay out the next steps. If they say yes, move to the next stage, lay out the next steps, show them, again, set the agenda for what the next steps are. And if not, just follow up. That is a part of your content strategy, is having a follow-up strategy. Anyways, this is what I have for you today. This is what has worked for me really well for the past 18 months. And it's what I help. I've actually talking about this today because I've been helping my coaching clients with this recently. So it's been a lot of fun working with them on this, helping them with like confidence and script. So if that kind of service is something that you need help with as far as like extra help or accountability or resources on that, shoot me a message. I'd love to help you. I have 2 coaching spots open this month. I'd love to help you out. Just shoot me a DM. And of course, you know about my content membership if you need social media posts and all the other stuff. All of my links in the description for the video. Just let me know how I can help you because I would love to help. All right, I will talk.